world lies shrouded in darkness. The winds died, the seas raged, and the earth decayed. But the people believed in prophecy, patiently awaiting its fulfillment. When darkness veils the world, 4 light warriors shall come. And then one fine day, they did. I'm Laplace, and let's play Final Fantasy. In the late 80s, a little game company named Square made a few games for the Japanese Famicom, but almost all of them sold quite dismally. Square found itself in a very tight spot and said screw it, and poured all its heart, soul, and money into one final game. For this, they turned to one Hironobu Sakaguchi. In Sakaguchi's own words, quote, or at least quote translated into English from Japanese, I don't think I have what it takes to make a good action game. I think I'm better at telling a story. And so he did. Square's D&D-inspired swan song was appropriately named Final Fantasy, released in Japan in December of 1987. And in the US a few years later in July 1990. In an ironic twist, Final Fantasy would sell extremely well if you haven't noticed it's had a sequel or two. Alright, it's had a couple sequels. Alright, Oh Sweet Cthulhu has sequels, I want to say 40-ish games, and it has also had countless remakes and ports. And of course by countless I actually mean about 10. But that's enough history, let's actually start talking about the game, shall we? For this playthrough, I'll be using the Dawn of Souls version, as it is the one that's the most readily available to me and actually on it. So, once you start after the title screen, you'll be sent to the Party Select menu, where you can pick 4 party members for the game. You can't change your party members throughout the game, so choose wisely. Your options consist of the Warrior class, also known as the Fighter, which I'll probably be calling it all the time, capable of using a lot of weapons, but mostly stick to swords, shields, and axes. They boast the best attack in the game and the best defense too, but they have magic and speed comparable to that of a handmade soap dish, but all pirates should carry at least one of them. The Thief, unlike in most games, actually can't steal here. They don't have the kind of attack or defense or armory the Fighter has, nor the high HP or defense, but what they do have over the Fighter is speed, which gives them a really high chance of fleeing during battle. This can be very useful if your party is underleveled, or you're just plain getting the shit kicked out of you. To get away fast. The Monk, also known as Black Belt in some translations, is relatively weak on the game, but around level 6 or 7 their stats start to take off in speed and attack. Their defense and magic is a bit lackluster, but that's fine, they won't be using magic. A note about the Monk, after a while, you should probably take all their equipment off at around between level 4 and 6, equipment will actually begin hindering their stats as opposed to improving it. So it's a very cost-effective choice. The White Mage specializes in light, restorative, and defensive magic, like Cure and Protect. Although extremely squishy, and they can't really do a whole lot of damage, they can wield staves and hammers, although poorly. They have a hard time damaging enemies, but they can do a number on the undead with a DS spell. On to my personal favorite class, the Black Mage. Much like the White Mage, they're about as physically inclined as a sheet of toilet paper, but they command elemental magic like fire, ice, thunder, and quake. They can also deal status elements, but I always found these kind of spells to be next to useless in most versions of the game. Actually, in all versions of the game. But the elemental weaknesses and the ability to hit all enemies is always fun. The Red Mage is a jack of all trades and master of none. They have decent attack and capable of learning some black and white magic, but they don't do as good a job as the Black and White Mages, and their attack isn't quite on par with the Fighter. But they do have very snappy hats. I really like their hats. Their stats are pretty mediocre in all areas, and a very good crutcher of the game. And throughout a good chunk of the game, they can essentially serve as your second Black or White Mage, but later on it'll show where their stats begin to fall behind. Another note, the mages have 8 levels of spells that they can learn. You can only learn 3 spells of every level. So it's best to choose wisely what spells the mages learn, as you only have so many slots for them. In some versions of the game, the mages have what are called spell charges, where you can only use so many spells at a certain level. While in this translation of the game, as well as the PSP version, instead they have MP, where say you have 100 MP and use a spell that costs 4, you'll be left with 96, as opposed to saying you have 7 charges of a level 2 spell left over. Also a note, for a mage to use different level spells, they have to reach a certain level requirement, but we'll touch on that later. For example, a level 1 mage can't use level 3 spells. If you want to make the game really easy, I'd highly advise taking 3 fighters and a white mage. If you want to make the game near on impossible, take 4 white mages as you won't be able to damage just about anything. So yeah, good luck with that. I prefer versatility and not picking the same class twice, so I'll go with fighter, monk, white, and black mage. It makes me sad leaving red mages behind their fancy hats, and I don't do a lot of running, so I don't need a thief so much. When choosing your party, please mind that the first slot will get hit more often than the second slot will get a slight defense boost. No, they don't. They get a slight attack boost. And the rear slot will be hit less, but will get a slight defense boost. So if you have a fighter, it would be wise keeping them in front, while you have your mages in the back. Say for the red mage, you can go in just about any slot, but if you have a fighter, I wouldn't put them in the first slot. Now that party selection and naming is out of the way, now onto the actual game. The world of Final Fantasy is powered on the 4 elemental crystals originally known as orbs in the NES and Famicom versions. The 4 crystals long ago lost their luster, causing the world to fall to pieces. Prophecy Sage Lucan claimed that the world it's kind of sucking right now. The seas are raging, the earth is rotting, and the wind is dark. Someday the 4 light warriors, that's you, will come and restore grace to the world and the crystals as well, and save the world. A bit bland and very cliche, but for its sake, it was actually a very deep and involving plot, as its only competition was Dragon Warrior. You'll be dropped into the middle of nowhere next to the town of Cornelia. You'll have the option of going to the castle first to progress the plot, or going to the town. I'll go into the town first. If you have mages, make sure to hit up the magic shop and buy Fire and Cure for your black and white mages as your first priority. You can buy Protect and Dia for the white mages if you want to, but make sure you give Cure the priority. For the black mages, you can get Fire or Thunder. You'll do fine if you buy both. I really don't care about the other ones, Sleep and Focus, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Focus, as sea-based enemies have relatively high evasion at this point in the game. If you have a red mage, get both Fire, Thunder, and Cure. And if you don't want Thunder, I guess you can live without it, but I usually go with those 3. Next, go into the armor weapon shop and get more equipment. Give priority to your fighters, they will be in the front slot dealing out the most damage. If you happen to have a monk, it's best to get nunchucks for time being as you on level 1. You're probably not going to have enough money for all the items you need to get at a time being. But if you do, that's fine too. And if you don't worry about it, you'll have time for this later. Talk to the guards in the front gate and you'll be taken to the king. The king will notice that you hold the 4 crystals in hand, therefore you all must be the light warriors. He will request for you to rescue the Princess Sarah, and the Chancellor will tell you that Garland, once one of the king's knights, one day decide to abduct the princess and flee to the Chaos Shrine, or the Temple of Fiends in some translations. The Knights of the Kingdom try to save her, but they are horribly incompetent, or Garland best than he is the best knight in the kingdom. I personally prefer the first because it makes me smile. The king will offer to build you a bridge so we can order the continent and choose your next location. To, start saving the world and whatnot, but first you'll need to rescue the princess. He's a bit of a dick, not letting you save the world to, rescue a princess, but I guess we must do what has to be done. Exit the castle and talk to some NPCs along the way if you want to, then begin heading north. Now that we're out in the field, I suppose it's the best time of day to start talking about combat. Final Fantasy is your typical RPG affair. You have 5 commands. Fight, which will attack your enemies based on your attack set and speed multiplier, which is actually very important for the monthly feed. Magic uses spells in your spell list, providing you often have to your target to cast them. The effectiveness of spells are based on your intelligence. The item command uses any items in your inventory, like healing potions or some cure status elements like an antidote. The equipment command lets you switch your equipment to the fray, self-explanatory. And finally, the flee command lets you escape battle but the odds of you getting away is based on your enemy speed versus your total party speed, which is why the thief is actually very important if you want to keep a lot of running away, because when you run away, your defense is half for the rest of the round. And of course, if your HP hits 0, you will die. You can only be brought back by the cure spell at the sanctuary for a price in towns, or having a phoenix down. Yes, I am assuming that you've never played an RPG before in your life. Now that we know how to fight, we're on our way to the Temple of Fiends, or the Chaos Shrine. I'm going to keep calling it Temple of Fiends. On the way there, you'll encounter goblins that will go down in one hit, and goblin guards that are a little stronger, but you can take them pretty easily. The wolves that tend to attack in groups, they hit pretty hard and pretty fast. The horses that have a little bit more attack than the other two, but they usually don't attack in packs, so they're pretty easily taken down. If you're playing the Dawn of Souls or PSP version, they just ignore the first game on the way there. It's totally optional, and you can't do anything there just yet. The Chaos Shrine will be on the northern tip of the continent. If you haven't hit level 3 yet, it would be very advised if you did so, as Garland, he isn't very tough, but you should be at level 3. If you haven't healed up yet, you may want to turn around and go back into town, as the HP that you lose in battle and the HP that you gain from leveling up actually won't come back when you do so. So even if you're at full HP and you took on Garland level 3, you'd still have 20 HP where your max may be like 30 or 40 at this point. Alright, now that we're here, walk in, and if you want to, you can go to the sides and grab a potion, a leather hat, and a cottage on the way there. The enemies there are a bit tougher, and I actually wouldn't bother taking them on at this point. So if you want to, you can freely just skip ahead, you're not missing much. If you do decide to do so, just walk ahead to the next room. Garland will be there. He'll ramble about how he's going to trade the princess for the power of the king. He'll turn to you and begin mocking you and call you one of these lapdogs, although in context you're more of a victim of the king being paid to do this. Then Garland will probably utter the biggest meme Final Fantasy has made. I, Garland, will knock you all down, but don't let him fight against you. If you do let him knock you all down, you'll die. Garland has 222 HP in this version, and PSP version, but 106 in the rest. He'll only do one attack to your party per round, so this battle is pretty straightforward. Have everyone attack, and have your black and red mages cast black magic on him if they can, and the white mages should heal up if necessary, although if you're really taking a beating, you should maybe cast protect if you want to. If you haven't been to an inn yet to restore your HP, and MP that is, your casters will probably run out of MP, but don't worry, if your level is 3 or higher, this guy should be a real pushover. Soon Garland should fall, and the princess will be safe, and we'll never see Garland again, ever. You know, for the best knight in the kingdom, he's actually very weak, but then again, he was just jumped a long one. After this, you'll be taken back to the king, who will kiss your ass for saving the day, and he'll tell you that if you don't get the crystal shards, the world will never be restored, although that's kind of odd because your proof of being a light warrior is having the crystals on you. And I think that was a little bit of a plot hole, or it just got a little mixed up in translation, I'm not exactly sure. But maybe they were different crystals, it's kind of weird. Well, anyway, you're told that you need to go to the northern continent, as the crystal may be there. In any case, at your next location, talk to the princess and she'll give you the loot, as she thinks this may aid you in your quest, and Garland actually stole it before he left. Check off gunman. I mean, what? Okay. Now, if you ever get lost, a Chancellor will tell you to talk to the dancer in town. She'll usually pin at the next location for most of the game. Now that you're done with that, exit the castle to your party, and buy some items and then get a spells and equipment you may need to. You're going to need it. When you exit the town, the cutscene will play about the king doing good on his word to have the bridge built, and gratitude if he's saving the princess. When you reach the bridge, the prologue will play, not telling you anything you didn't already know. If you haven't died yet or haven't thrown your controller against the wall, congratulations, you beat the tutorial stage.